Welcome back to another video. Here is my chassis swap in full. I recently made a 4-part series of replacing my chassis and it went really well. I thought I'd make a full version of all the parts into one, compressed down into just under an hour, and I hope you enjoy it. Over 20 years of neglect can put a Land Rover in pretty poor shape. Buying a Land Rover for a bargain price without fully checking it over can leave you with a lot to sort over your ownership. After 6 years of owning Boris, I can look back and say that I've been chasing chassis problems and spending thousands in the process. Do I regret these decisions? No. Because for some reason we enjoy saving these vehicles, and I'm hoping that my one will outlive me. If one thing's for certain, you won't be keeping your old vehicle with a chassis that's about to split in half. That's why I've bitten the bullet and gone for a Richard chassis. So Boris is a 1997, which makes it 28 years old, and it's done pretty well, ish. It's a shame they didn't galvanise them from the factory, but over the years it has taken a lot of abuse. Obviously I've owned it for the last coming up to 6 years, and since then I've been looking after it as much as I can, but there's only so far you can go. Currently it is in a very poor state. The years that I've had it, it's had repair after repair after repair. Most of them have been surprises. You can look back to Wales, where we took the gearbox out to replace the clutch because it was slipping, found massive holes in the side of the chassis. It had a rust proofing a few years ago, and while it was there they found quite a few holes along the way. Patched up one towards the front side of the chassis there, and as you work your way back they welded on a new rear cross member and put new spring hangers on, and that was a massive job. When they were there they found loads and loads of mud and sand and crust and everything in the chassis. So in more recent years it definitely feels like it's a sort of get it up in the air before the MOT and have a look what it is rusty and where there are holes rather than if. So me and Ben have been patching it up over and over and over again, cutting bits out, putting new metal in place and welding it over, more as a sort of patch job to add a bit of support, but more just to keep it on the road, and with a vision of getting a new chassis in the future. That was getting closer and closer, and now it's actually happening. That was all working pretty well, I would say, this sort of patching it up and then just sort of going over it with some under chassis protection. Looked basically brand new, but it isn't. This year, you may have seen on my previous videos, I went to Wales. Off-roading is obviously very harsh on the entire Defender, but the chassis took a massive beating when I was going up the rock step in Wales just after we patched it up, and it revealed loads of issues. It was my fault. I drove it badly, but I bashed down onto the chassis, and I'm surprised nothing actually snapped or broke off. It sounded like it did. Pushed the chassis up, in and out, and then knocked bits out, and now there's holes all the way along the bottom. You can actually put your hand in or your fingers in, grab 50p size bits of metal out, and it just isn't good at all. It's looking like in a really bad shape, and there's just no chance of, well, there's no point in spending the money of repairing it. There's nothing really to go on to, and yeah, there's no chance of getting an MOT on it now without doing loads and loads of work, and it's that time. You need to realise where no more repairs need to happen. You just need to bite the bullet and go for it. Generally I've got a small amount of the stuff I'm going to be using today here. We've got the 2-part epoxy top coat, paint mixing pots, and some specific wooden ladles there to mix it with, brake cleaner to give the chassis a full clean. I've actually got some pre-panel paint wipes as well to give it all a clean just before. I've got cavity wax for the very end part of the process. This is Dinitrol, and that will go in with a long lance, coat the entire of the chassis. Even though there's galv in there, it's just an extra layer. You've got T-wash here that reacts with the galv, and that means you can paint straight over it because paint will peel off galv in its natural state. And I actually just bought a cheap spray gun off of Amazon as well to spray it all over. I was going to brush paint it, but I think spraying is going to be a bit easier. And obviously Scotch pads don't come at the end, and they are just to give it all a bit of a key and a clean up with the brake cleaner. So for this section, I think the first thing to talk about is why paint it. You know, a lot of people say galv doesn't rust, what's the point in doing it? And I've seen a lot of videos, a lot of opinions of people saying, yeah, technically yes, and it will last. I've seen series 3s out there with like galv cappings. It might not be original, but like that's bare and looks fine. So you can go that route, and obviously it's cost saving, and it does work. And if you like the look of it, then cool. My opinion is that I'm going to, and there's 3 main points that I've written down, not in order of importance, but it's theft, corrosion, and the way it looks, visuals. At this stage, you don't really need to go too hard with sandpaper and the Scotch-Brite, but it's worth doing it as I'm cleaning it anyway. It's been out in the rain and got a little bit dirty, so mainly this is cleaning it and giving it a little bit of a key here and there. If you weren't to T-wash it, this would be quite crucial, but we will be doing that stage. The only part of the chassis that really is exposed is the rear cross member. It was pretty good, but I thought I'd just go over with some really fine sandpaper on the angle grinder and just take off those high spots to give it a really nice smooth finish, ready for the T-wash and paint. Now it's time for T-wash. What does it say about this? It does say harmful, so I'm going to be careful with this and wear a face mask as well. Go around the whole thing, spray over a light coating, and let it start to sort of react with the metal, and then, as I said before, that gives it a key. Start to go really dark, I'll probably leave that on for an hour or so in the sun, and then wash that off, and then let that dry and move on to paint. So as you can see, everything seems to be going as expected. Just keep working my way around, and if I see any lighter spots, go over it again. If it dries out, it seems to be not corroding, sort of working as well as it should. But it's all going dark now, and it's just corroding that first layer a little bit, and then you wash it off, and it should be good. But from what I've seen, everything's going pretty well. Fingers crossed, carry on. Got another bottle if I need it. It's the underneath that's a bit difficult. Need to be careful with my eyes, so I'm going to go sort of work my way underneath now, up into the crevasses and everything like that, and see how we go. But generally, fingers crossed, everything's working quite well. So there we go then, there's the end of the T-washing process. It's actually called mordant solution. I didn't get to mention that earlier, that's the name of it. Basically what I've done is just go around for the last sort of 45 minutes, spraying it all over as much as I can. Underneath's been a bit of a tricky one, so I've gone over a bit to get underneath. And now it's just reacting with that top layer, and it just goes black like this. And this is effectively etch, like you'd get an etch primer. And now I'm just letting it sit, and it's gonna give it a nice sort of texture for the layer of final coat there. Next thing I'm going to do is go over with a hose and just wash it off all the bits I can. I opted to use the pressure washer as I thought it would rinse it nice and thoroughly, but it wouldn't fill the chassis up as if you were using a proper hose. But that was my theory anyway, and it did seem to work. Using the airline to blow the excess water off really did prove to me that I need to get a compressor and an airline myself. So we're at that stage, it's the moment of truth. I've got the chassis just sitting there waiting, just drying off a bit more. I've been over with the air dryer, so the airline, sprayed all the excess water off, and a blowtorch in the little crevices to try and warm it up even more. But obviously because it's darker now and it's not shiny, the sun's directly on it and it actually feels warm. So I'm gonna go and get some lunch, gonna go and hopefully let that sit for like 40 minutes or so. And that will just mean all the water that's excess from washing all the T-wash off should be gone. But it's looking really good. The etch has worked perfectly, and I'm excited to get going. But it's the first time I've ever painted with a gun, and I'll see what it's like. So the gun's hopefully ready, bar getting some thinners through it. Ooh, lovely. Whoa! Nice.
And that's how much paint you deliver.
Right.
So obviously you can control
You can control it then. I was sort of playing with it with the thinners in there.
Yeah.
And then
should probably be about right. Painted it.
Yeah. 3 parts of component A, 3 parts of that, to 1 part of this. So it's really handy what they've done on there basically, is you've got a marker all the way up, there's 3 of them, it says 3 to 1, so you just add that little bit on top, 3 to 1, which is really nice. And then here is your thinners, and it shows you what you can do, your 10 or 20 or 30% basically. So I'm just going to add the thinners onto the top, and I'm going to do, it says between 10 and 20, it's a warm day, so I'm just going to do 15. Let's go in there.
Okay, buddy, nice one.
That is properly thick. It's feeling quite good actually, thickness wise. Let's keep going with it. That's thinned at, well, roughly 15%. It says
you can afford to go a little bit more.
So we might as well just do a little bit because it's quite.
Because all that you're going to do is going to make a slightly thinner coat.
Yeah. That seems alright.
Yeah, that's about right.
No time like the present.
Yeah.
Ready? 3, 2, 1. Hey. Thank you. For the first time spraying with a gun, thankfully it went very well. I think it was down to the hot day and following the instructions for quantities on the box, but generally it looks really good. And I thought I'd just go around and do the fuel tank while I was there to add an extra layer of protection. Well, there you go then. It's definitely a day's worth of work. The sun's still shining, which has been absolutely amazing. In that sense, it's really lucky that I did it today, as I don't have much time in the lead up to the actual build, which is in a few weeks. Now it can sit in the sun and dry out. I'm going to leave it overnight, so through the evening, overnight, and then into the morning and let it keep drying tomorrow. I'm really happy with the finish. Could have done a tiny bit more paint, but to be honest, I used the final bit for the cross member there and the fuel tank. As I just walked around then, I just had a look, and there are a couple of bits here and there which are, you know, a little bit patchy, but what I'm going to do probably is just got a couple of aerosol cans, which are just Rust-Oleum ones, and just fill it in where I can. And again, the galv is there to protect the chassis, so this is good and it's looking fantastic. It's been a really fun day doing it, and yeah, I'm happy with the outcome. It's looking really nice. So here we are for day 2. It's definitely drying now, which is good. It's sort of half matte, half semi-gloss at the moment. I think it's still drying all the way through. Obviously last night being such clear, warm days, it means the nights are really cold, so that might affect the finish a little bit, but to be honest, I don't mind at all. It seems to be drying quite well in the sun now. It's definitely warmed up. In the next few hours it's going to be good. You can definitely rub it now, but you can feel it's still a tiny bit tacky there. The port of call today is to run the chassis loom through the front here, as I've got a new one all the way back through, out the back and the side there. Josh and Bennett say it's a bit of a nightmare. Hopefully there's a sort of technique they've used before. Gonna sort of insert a rod all the way down and then pull the rod, the loom back through with a few bits and pieces at the back there. It can be a bit sort of hard to reach, hard to get to. So I've got some airline to feed through the chassis, and the loom's sitting there ready to go. I'm going to go this way through and try and feed it away all the way up to the front there, and then take the chassis on, take the loom onto the front and then pull it back through. There's actually a bit here that's a bit difficult. A couple of triangles, isn't there?
Good luck with that, mate. Horrible job.
Yeah, so feeding that through is going to be a bit difficult, especially this part. So we decided to go from the back to the front, and hopefully that will make it a bit easier. But as the boys say, it's a difficult one, so wish me luck.
Yeah, so like that.
Just keep.
Basically, so when
you almost want
that bit's in there,
yeah.
so it goes past any like obstructions, because yeah, there's a triangle in by the way.
Yeah, I think that's where I am. I think it's about there.
You can when you get really upset, you can look through the hole.
I've already done that.
Oh, you're already upset.
But I did that there already. I'm really glad I came in early to do this job, as it takes a long time. It's not one to be underestimated. It's something that's very important. but it's extremely simple, so it's easy to overlook it, and it can take hours and hours and hours. So if you do need to do it yourself, make sure to budget the time in.
One eternity later.
Yes! Lemonade. Finally, the tedious job is done. I can see that the first clip was filmed at 1:45, and I finally managed to do it at 3:15. So you can see it takes a while. Yeah, the connect going in from this end to that hole, and then going in from that end. So
Where did you connect then?
I pulled them both out of here, taped them, and then pulled it back through, and that worked. That was I was at give up phase, and then that helped. Well, that took a little bit longer than I expected, even though they did warn me about it. Next stage is this. Wax in the chassis, fill it up, and then hopefully that will give it a bit more coating on the inside, even though there's galvan there. Should just add that extra layer, hopefully. This is a really simple step, and I think it will help a lot. There's been a few mixed opinions on if you should do it at all, but I think you should, as it adds an extra level of protection on top of the galv, as there will be mud, crud, and water sitting there for the life of the chassis, and all it can do is help for about 20 minutes worth of work. So there you go then. I'm really happy with the final finish. It's protected on the inside and out, and it will be prevented from theft as well. This process actually daunted me more than the swap, only because it was uncharted territory, and you want to do a really good job as well as you can, and you want it to last for a long time. Reversing Boris back for the first time into the workshop is quite a daunting experience, but thankfully I'm in good hands with Ben.
Have you got that your Pioneer brake kit? Does that come right up to the master cylinder?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one super long one will be your front to rear. That's your front axle
Twisted one.
and rear axle.
It's hard to know where to start, but first of all, we were just going through all the new parts to make sure we had everything in order.
Yeah, that's fine. Just so I know what we can do to
Yeah.
speed things up and what we can't do.
You put
And
that-
if necessary, we can just pull it off anyway. It's not a big deal.
The plan is to leave the body as intact as possible and the wings on as well. So Ben's removing the front of the engine area, leaving the cooling system in place, and then we can get the body off there. For me, the most daunting bit was the engine bay. The plan is to be able to run your arm pretty much down the sides of the engine between the wings, and then you'll be able to remove the body. Next up, we are working back to the rock sliders. They will be never going back on, and as you can see, I didn't manage to wash the chassis, so Ben was blowing it off with the air compressor. Removing the body mount bolts as they were a little bit tough, but generally we were making good progress. Yes! There you go.
So yeah, so we've got an earth that side, we've got an earth this side.
Yeah,
That one there,
Yeah.
and that one up there.
So literally it's just the rear crossmember bolts, a few of them here are stuck in, and then the mud flaps and a couple of bolts up the front, and we're getting there, which is pretty good. Just this one needs to come off now, and I think that's the front to back worked on, and hopefully then we can split the body, but we'll see how we go. Oh, okay. Are some of them captive then?
Yeah, so all these ones are captive, it's just the end ones that are.
Now it was time to remove the ORE wheel carrier, but I had to adjust the rear cross member because it was slightly in the way of the bolts. I didn't film it coming off, but I did catch this. It's all the ancillary bits. There's not actually many bolts holding them together, really. There's like six. Yeah. So we're at the point now where basically the body is ready to come up. Hopefully as we go up there's nothing still attached. Ben's obviously done it many times, so we're generally at the point where everything's disconnected and we can just sort of watch as it's sort of coming up to see if there's any cables or anything like that out of the battery box, but generally we're looking pretty good. Wow.
tight over anything. It's just
Wow.
a thing.
It just would,
It hasn't moved so far.
It will catch it, won't it, if it needs to? So do you not have to break the coolant system at all? Or will you do it when you take the engine
Yes,
out?
yeah, it will all come off separately.
Hey! Not bad.
Not bad for 3.5 hours.
Not bad at all. Look at that.
There
Wow,
you go.
well done.
Right, I'm going home.
Go on then. Finish up.
Yeah, done.
Now the body is up and we can take a look at the top side of the chassis. It's revealed a few extra holes that we didn't even know about. I have to say it's a nice feeling after worrying for so long about these sort of things to just throw it to the wind and then just carry on with the swap and knowing I'll be rolling away with a brand new chassis. Right now we're having a look at the engine and gearbox mounts, ready to take it out after Ben has drained the coolant and removed the radiator.
Didn't even click. It's just a zzz. Yeah, they're finger tight.
Because literally the axles come off as a whole.
Yeah, you just.
Wheel this out,
Yeah.
new chassis in, hang it off these legs.
Oh, hang it. Oh, then.
Because then what we can literally do is then lift your old chassis in the air, drop the axles off, roll the rear axle straight under, bolt it back up, poach whatever we need off the rest of this. So you haven't got a front anti-roll bar, but you've got rear, which will take an extra 10 minutes of
It's 4 bolts. Yeah, 4 bolts.
Fuel filler neck.
But that can stay on the axle, can't it? You just undo it off the chassis, just roll off with the axle.
Yeah.
Just there? Lovely job.
As you can see, all there is left to do now is hoist the engine out with the tractor, and thankfully we've got Josh here to supervise us.
Yeah. So there we go then. It's looking pretty good. That came up pretty easily as well. Very happy with that. Now we just need to start taking all this apart now, which is pretty good. And new clutch in the engine as well. Nice.
Front bumper off, screw that out of the way.
Yep.
Steering guard off, undo the steering box and ball joint, and then the whole power steering system's off in one go. Oh, look at them muscles on it! Oh, Jack, you had all this off, didn't you?
Yeah, I did this, whatever.
Ooh. I even pulled them off from lack of nylocks.
That might be why then. Have I not used spring washers?
You haven't used any washers, you animal.
I learned from the best, obviously.
As you can see there, Ben is picking up on some of the mistakes I've made at home, and that is a reminder that this is just a video of us doing it. I'm not a professional, but Ben is, apparently. Time to attack the turrets on both sides. Over the years they've come fully attached, so it's good to just attack the bolts with a grinder, and we don't need to save them anyway because we've got the new Gwyn Lewis ones.
I'm just gonna
Cool,
do this.
right, that's
This is
front
much
axle
easier.
ready to remove.
That flex system.
At this point, Ben popped out, which left me and Josh to move the chassis unattended by an adult, which is never a good idea.
Like a Shire horse.
So here you go, a very poignant moment in the build. The new chassis is coming into the workshop and going to be placed under Boris.
So a bit of a status update. You've obviously seen everything we've been doing. Underneath Boris now, you've got the new Richard chassis sitting down ready underneath, and we've got going to strap it up with 4 different straps here, which means when you raise the lift up with the body on, the chassis will come up, and then we can roll the axles underneath it, which are still, well, one of them's on the old chassis there, and the front one is there ready to go on, and the engine's there as well. Thankfully, having a lift and a tractor makes it a hell of a lot easier. While Ben's away, I thought I'd get ahead and remove the rear axle from the old chassis, ready to roll under the new one. I definitely didn't turn the tractor on and use it on my own. Ben got to work removing the old spring seats that I've been wanting to do for 5 years, as someone broke the bolt and welded it on before me, and now we've got fresh galv ones from DDS. The rear axle is going to be the first thing to go onto the new chassis, but it does require a little bit of wiggling to go on, and let's see how we do. I'm far away still.
You're far away, that's fine, because then what we'll do...
Oh, hang on. Okay, yeah.
Snap in. Who needs shock absorbers?
Yeah, that's great.
We can start bolting on the brand new bits from DDS, like these galv cab mounts, and also some new shock hangers on the back as well. I highly recommend having a stainless steel bolt kit, because you've got to enjoy the little things.
Body mounts are going on as well, and at the front there I've got the Gwyn Lewis heavy duty turrets on. Really simple, those are nice, all bolted on, and then I've got some new bump stops to go on as well. They really do contrast well, the black in it all is looking really nice, but that's not the point. It's going to work well too.
Oh, it's captive.
Oh yeah.
Looking in pretty good shape, really happy with bolting all these bits and pieces back on. I'm really happy with the progress so far, and I'm very excited to get it done. Hopefully Wednesday night will be, you know, the aim, 2 more days, but at the moment, very happy with progress. If I was to order something with you for a van, do you think it would get in the sort of, well, when do they leave, the first ones?
Bubby's van's leave at 9, so I should be able to catch it.
That'd be awesome if you wouldn't mind.
Although it isn't quite this quick, Brookwell's definitely helped us out a few times. Aaron on the other line really knows his stuff, and the parts were delivered up a few hours later. Ben got cracking with the power steering setup and had that bolted up in no time, while I fiddled around the back with the anti-roll bar, which took a little while to get up because it is quite heavy, but once it was done up, only 4 bolts, nice and easy. So these pieces from DDS really do make a difference. You know, the ones that were on the chassis before they looked actually fine. They must have been replaced more recently, but having new galv bits to match the galv chassis, look at that contrast of the galv against the black, very happy with that. Just going to attach those now. I'm just hoping that M8s will fit through there. They don't look like they will, which is annoying. It's a shame, because they will there. Might have to be M6s, unfortunately. Oh, it really feels nice and easy for a little while, but that didn't last long. The gearbox crossmember is a definite tight fit. I took it out for paint, and getting it back in is a bit of a challenge. A bit of cavity wax to stop rust, and a few taps with a hammer, the bolts are back in, and we're underway. Touch of black, and it is like new. A nice guy turned up to tell me how Land Cruisers don't rust. A nice bit of advice when you're knee deep in a chassis swap. Thank you for that. Do we need to?
I don't know, do we?
Do we? Probably. It looks like it. Are we keeping an eye on these holes? So
So just like that, the front axle is all bolted up. A little bit of prizing here and there. It'd be definitely difficult on your own, but with two of us it wasn't too bad. There's the ORE steering guard going back on, and after that the bumper followed. It definitely feels like things are coming back together. Not bad. Not
Lunchtime, day 2.
rolling chassis.
Rolling chassis.
Lovely job. Not bad, eh? So just go through what we've got to do again.
Loft clutch,
Yeah.
new engine mount, bushings,
Gearbox mounts.
yeah, engine and gearbox mount, fuel pipes, brake pipes,
Yeah.
body back on,
body
and
mounts.
your mounts.
Yeah.
Your mounts.
Yeah, cool. So right now everything is looking really good, well wrapped up. Both axles are on, and I think every bolt there is done, which is great, which means we can now move on to fitting the fuel lines and brake lines, the braided ones from Pioneer, which is very exciting. We've just had a little look around. We do need to drill some holes here and there for the clips that are provided with the brake lines. There's one here, we just tested, fitted it, and seeing how we go. It's a lovely carbon fibre look, which is amazing, and we're going to get in now. I don't know where they go, so Ben's going to come back in a second and lay it all down, and then we can get going with that. So it should be nice and easy.
Then drops down like that,
Yeah.
and obviously I've pulled that way too far forward. And then usually there'll be a hole to take brackets, but
There's one there as well, isn't there? Where you've gone through, just where you've gone through there.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
well,
nice,
actually
so-
a proper mounting one
Yeah.
for your flexi.
And then that goes onto the...
And then that goes down to your T-piece, which you've been supplied a new T-piece, haven't
Yeah.
you?
Ben cracked on with a section that runs along the chassis from front to back, and I thought I'd head back to the rear diff and to the T-piece that connects the two rear calipers. Pioneer thankfully label their bags, and on the instructions at the end, each bag is named for where it goes. Really easy, quite intuitive really, and it is 10 times easier than running new lines with copper or reusing the old ones. I recently had a copper line split in a campsite which I had to fix, and thank God that's going to be a thing of the past. I can't wait to see what these look like on and how they work. Bag number 7, opening up. You definitely find little upgrades all the way through the Pioneer kit. Thankfully the end bits twist on here, which is nice. The ends are 10 times better as they use a banjo bolt type system, which is much easier to tighten up as the line doesn't run through the middle. It is a bolt instead. Would you, in your opinion, run it through the gap there, like under the spring, like through there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep it as close coupled as you can.
Yeah, that makes sense. Don't want it dangling or angling. The kit includes very heavy duty cable ties and 3D printed, very tough clips that clip the actual line to the chassis. I put 2 on this side and 2 on the other, even though my positioning is probably a little bit off. All you need to do is repeat the same for the other side. Make sure the bolts are actually nipped up nice and tight, which I may have forgotten and leaked out later on in the process. It is nice and easy and looks neat very quickly, and you know they are going to last for a very long time. When I installed this ARB diff cover a few years ago, it removed the actual hanger from the T-piece, so I drilled and tapped it, and that looks very neat. As you can see here, we also fitted the heavy duty new fuel lines from the back to the front. Ben did find them slightly different to the normal ones to fit, but once they're in, they do look fantastic, and like the braided brake lines, they will last a long time. So the final upgrade that I'm going to be doing while changing the chassis is this clutch. I've gone for the power spec one from Loft, and it also comes with the heavy duty clutch fork as well, as I have actually pushed through and broken one of those before in the past. My recommendation would be to do upgrades like this, even though it does put the price of the swap up, but you definitely don't want to be taking the gearbox out further down the line, and while the engine's out, you might as well put it in. The arm.
Did it puncture a hole through it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because your release bearing fell apart when you took it off.
Really? After about 5 years and 50,000 miles of use, that clutch didn't actually look too bad, but as Ben was pointing out, the release bearing was looking very worn, and actually now I think about it, it was grumbling as well. As well as clutches and brakes, Loft do sell a few accessories as well, and I went for a main seal while I was there, just behind the flywheel. It's pretty easy to get to while you're there, and should be a bit of peace of mind into the future. It's a bit of a shame really, once you've put the clutch in and the bell housings back on, you won't see the clutch, hopefully, for a few more years. But it is one of those things that is just a wise decision, and it'll give you many, many more miles of happy motoring. Fingers crossed. In my opinion, it's imperative to have an upgraded clutch fork. I have actually been caught out in the past, as I said, it can push through and leave you pretty much stranded without a clutch and no gears. And there's the new release bearing that looks much better than the old one.
Well, you compare it to the one that came off,
Yeah.
that was in two pieces, and that is literally just a flat bearing with a slight,
Oh, I see, and now that one's actually sort of domed.
and all metal, so this bit's metal as well,
Yeah.
so that's
should
really
last
made for
longer,
longevity
yeah.
there.
Do you want me to do a bit? Can I do it?
I'm on. I think I'm on. Oh, hello. You cheeky little man, you. But yes, actually, that couldn't have been better timed. The fact that it was on my foot meant that that was quite a relief.
So we're basically at the point now where the chassis is all rigged up with the Pioneer brake lines. The loft clutch has just gone on the engine now. The chassis is ready to roll back in and bring the body down on top. There's a couple of bits to do, but we can do that when the body's back down, which is good.
The only thing we had to watch on the way out was the exhaust over this mount, because it's sort of in line.
And then
it
just-
went fine.
We can guide the back for, we can lift it together, I think.
Right, so we are literally on this mount here, I think. Oh yeah.
Can't see.
Where are you there? Hold on.
It's basically there.
Are you in and on that one? Yeah, you are.
Yeah, it's through.
On
Nice.
there, on there.
Look at that. Engine is back in. So with the engine in, Ben got cracking with the cooling system, putting the radiator and intercooler back onto the front there and getting that connected up. And that's all we could manage on day 2, which is pretty good going in my opinion. All there was time to do now is to wheel it out and take a look at the progress so far. Obviously you can see the new bits quite easily against the muddy old bits and pieces. No, I didn't have time to wash it, but I can do that in the future. It is looking fantastic. Can't wait to roll it back in and get cracking tomorrow. Yeah.
I genuinely think you'll be driving it out tomorrow night,
Really? That'd be good, wouldn't it?
because it's going to be half a day to get it all bolted back together.
Yep.
And then it's going to be wiring at the back to sort out, which
Yeah.
is going to take
New loom,
a couple of
gonna be
hours.
stuff like that.
The rest of it's just plug and play.
How's that looking? Sweet.
Day 3 started with a job I had sort of forgotten about, but actually was very important, replacing these tub floor supports that were quite involved to remove.
But I'd almost be inclined to go drill, 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 and just pot rivet straight up through the floor.
Not, yeah.
And not even
CT1.
bother with these.
With a vehicle that is almost 30 years old, there are going to be bits that are corroded, and you could very quickly go into a full restoration. As you can see, the tub floor isn't in a great shape, so we opted to drill new holes and rivet into new places, and it has worked very well. I'm also adding some heavy duty glue to go between the floor and the support, just to sort of act as a anti-corrosion layer, and also glue it into position to add strength. I can't imagine what tackling this job without the body up would be like. I would say it would be a nightmare, but if you are going to do it up or down, having an electric rivet gun really made a huge difference. It'd be really interesting to have a look back through Boris's history and see what it was used for. The back definitely had some seriously heavy-duty things in there, as it was very bowed, and even the entrance to the doorway has been bent down. I think you can get the picture of why I wanted to replace these. You can see the before and after there, looking absolutely terrible. These new ones are going to add a huge amount of support, and being galvanised, they're going to last as long as the chassis. Unfortunately, I didn't realise how many I needed, so I pre-planned and bought 3 from DDS. But actually, when I got there, I needed to add 3 more from Brookwell's, and thankfully they came up on the van. Doesn't look fantastic, but at least they're going to do the job. And with that completed, all there is to do now is put the body back down and make sure it slots over the chassis in the right place and doesn't snag anything on the way down. There you go. It's currently going to make contact with the turbo hose.
There we go, that's what's catching something.
And then, yeah, oh, that turbo pipe's in behind now, pretty much. Do we need to do any rubber bits? Should I just cut some squares quickly?
Yeah.
There are quite a few places where the body sits on the chassis and isn't attached. It actually just sits on with rubber spaces between to stop it from rattling around. We didn't take these off the old chassis, so I had to make some with some old mud flaps, and that really did the trick. Ben's now using a jack and a pry bar just to move the chassis over so it's in the perfect place to put the body back down. Some of them, that one's better, but these are like, yeah, it's like half a centimetre to this way. And that's it, we're down, and Ben's about to put the first bolt through the chassis and the bulkhead.
Right, so as that comes down, it can pop that one.
Yeah.
Got it.
Is it? Nice. Moving on to the rear cross member, unfortunately I didn't have a great set of bolts, so I had to use some of the leftovers from the swap, but thankfully they went in even though they were different lengths. This heavy duty ratchet strap up to the roof rack and down to the chassis just to pull the body in that tiny bit more really did make a difference. And there you go, all bolted up. Doesn't it look good? But unfortunately it makes the rest of the body look pretty shabby. Now Ben's going to head to the engine bay, connect everything back up and rerun the winch cables to the bumper. There's the one-piece clutch line from Pioneer run from the master down to the brand new slave on the bale housing. As well as the Pioneer fuel lines, they also do a new CNC fuel filter head, and there's that going in right now. And as we come down, we can finally take a look at the new chassis in place with Boris's old muddy panels. And it's time to run the chassis loom up into the body and get the wiring sorted out. The brand new fuel filler neck and breather is on. Ben installed the new fuel sender into the tank and attached it to the fuel lines. This really feels like a big moment. The fuel's going back into the tank and we're getting ready for the first startup. Ben made sure the engine bay was all connected and ready to go and filled up the system with coolant.
That's weird. Didn't really expect that to happen. Very impressive. If that can pull its own fuel through from empty pipes. Oh, look out. Here comes trouble.
Nice to see he's not going.
Oh yeah, it's back together. Thank you very much. Thank you. And some flaps. Amazing. Exciting. With the final few bits coming up from Brookwells, it was time to rev up that engine and make sure it was all running smoothly.
So you don't
Yeah.
need to go anywhere. Just tell me if I've got brake lights, tell me
Yeah.
if I've got side light. Side light? Yeah. Brake light? Yeah.
Both feeling pretty shattered for the work that we put in for the last few days. Ben's putting the bonnet down, which can only mean there isn't very much to do.
Right, well the only thing I'm pretty sure you're going to need to do is straighten out the steering wheel. Boom and thing.
Oh my goodness. How exciting. Here we go then. The moment of truth. Hey, look at that. It rolls out on a new chassis. Can you believe it? What a job Ben has managed to do. It's absolutely incredible. 3 days managed to smash that out in. Incredible.
And there we go, the first drive. Ben at the wheel, making sure that everything feels okay, feeling tighter straight away and more firm around the corners. What a relief. It's a fantastic feeling to finally get out and drive it for the first time. Pulling up as the sun was shining, all we needed to do now was stand and look at the work that we had done. We were both very happy and surprised that we'd managed it in 3 days, but we did remember that I did a day of prep and painting before.
And obviously you did a day's worth of chassis prep to start
Yeah,
with.
well, it's hard. You almost don't consider that being part of it until you sort of think back and actually it is. If you
Well, how
trying
long
to
did it
do
take to feed that loom through the chassis?
well, 3 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a big difference, and you could have done, like as you said, brake lines and stuff then as
Yeah,
well. If
yeah,
I just
you
didn't know
could
where
have
they
done.
went effectively. But yeah, apart from a couple of bolts here and there, it's basically just like putting a genuine chassis underneath, isn't it? Really.
But the actual chassis on a whole, everything lined up perfectly.
Happy with it. Yeah.
A lot of people say they want a forever car, well there it is.
Yeah. That's the plan, anyway. Thank you very
okay.
much.
Pleasure as always.
It's been fun.
Tomorrow morning we'll cut your old chassis in half.
That'd be good.
And that's exactly what we did. The next morning I head over to Ben's to fix a few small snags that I had on the way home and the way back in, and Ben got to work with the Zorzor and got that chassis in half ready to go into the skip. As we were there we found more and more holes, but it was far too easy to break into 2 pieces. Something I thought I'd mention now is chassis numbers. I get that question a lot, and the advice from Richards themselves is to cut out the chassis number from your old chassis and retain it, just in case someone could find your old chassis and try and claim your truck. And there you have it. After 3 long days of work, the job is finally wrapped up, and doesn't the chassis look absolutely brilliant? The idea of doing a chassis swap haunts Defender owners for most of their ownership until the day it's done. That feeling of having it completed is absolutely massive. There are many factors to why the chassis swap went quite so well, but I think there are 3 main points. One being new parts going in here, there and everywhere really make it nice and easy instead of taking old lines off the chassis and replacing them. 2, Ben's skill, the years and years of working on Land Rovers, he just knows everything off by memory and he doesn't even have to put the bolts in order. And the third and final thing is the Richards chassis. It is OEM quality, and that is what they've been striving to do for years and years, and it really pays off. Bar a couple of adjustments here and there, I can honestly say it slipped straight back in as if Boris's old chassis was underneath it. This really reinforces the forever vehicle nature of Boris. It's been a fantastic process putting the chassis in, and I hope you've enjoyed watching this video series, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Cheers.
Oh, Jack!
Lovely.
Ow! All right, let's go. Strap that off. Burn, Josh, burn!
Where is it?
Turning.
Where is it? I got
Turning! Somebody
There it is.
stop that nut! I did buy it, it wasn't Mummy!
Please, don't be mean.
Because it's a grease of lightning! Yeah.
Hey, boy.
No! God's sake. Pop. Oh, hello.
Your favourite thing?
Breaker, rubber ducky. Alexa! Alexa! Play Kratos' radio, for God's sake. For Jack humiliates me anymore. We are ready.
Very dramatic there. You look very cool.
Just like a silhouette of
Sorry, not you.
You weren't filming that, were you?
Yeah, no way. That's going to make the highlights real.
Now we fitted a loft clutch. Super manly. Fly like an angel.
Wow.
Let's cross that look in your eyes.